But I will say, I think I have a way for the Lions to get out of this hell that we're in, because I know you subscribe to this and just talks that we've had privately. Is as frustrating as the Lions have been throughout the Dan Campbell era. 3 wins last year. Doesn't look like they're going to get a whole lot more than that this year with the way things are going. You feel like this rebuild is different than the rebuilds in the past. You feel differently about Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes than you did Quinntricia, or than you did Mayhew and Schwartz, or Mayhew and Caldwell.
I do. I said it throughout all of our time on the Sports Carnage podcast when it was still relevant at the time. It was when William Clay Ford was the owner, that as long as William Clay Ford was the owner, the Lions were never going to do anything, because William Clay Ford didn't give a damn about the football team, didn't give a damn about the city of Detroit. He liked to fill his pockets, and that's all he got out of it. And all you have to do is go look at the renewal contract that he gave to Matt Millen after he was literally the worst in the history of his job in the NFL after 5 years. And William Clay Ford gave him a 5-year extension. Now, he was fired in his 3rd year of that 5-year extension, thank God. But you can't do that. You cannot give a guy a 5-year extension when he is literally the worst in the history of his job title, which is what Matt Millen was. So for me, it was, until William Clay Ford is gone, the Lions aren't going to do anything. I have felt different about this regime and this rebuild because Sheila went for outside help. She went to Spielman. She went to Barry Sanders. She went to people that were going to be outside the organization. It is outside help. I don't think these guys were ever consulted before in any way, shape, or form. I think she took an outside look at things as far as that we need to find people that know the game and know what they're doing. And yeah, obviously getting a voice of a legend who might not be working so much in the game a la Barry Sanders isn't going to be all that helpful. But getting a different taste in general for what you're doing, to me, is helpful. Getting an outside opinion on what's going on. Because what we've been doing ain't working. And here's what we've been doing. Exactly what the fans want to have happen right now, which is fire Dan Campbell in his 2nd year. So let me remind everybody what has brought us to this point. Because since Wayne Fonts, and he was literally our last long tenured head coach. He was the head coach from 89 to 96. That's a long tenure in the Detroit Lions history. And he was a 500 head coach. After that, it was Bobby Ross for 3.5 years. It was Gary Moeller for a year. It was Morningweg for 2 years. It was Mariucci for 3 years or 2.5 years. Dick Duran finished off the year. Rod Marinelli for a few years. Jim Schwartz for 4. Jim Caldwell for 4. And then Bevel for a blink. And then you had, after Patricia, obviously, when that all fell apart, and then Dan Campbell. So you're looking at head coach after head coach after head coach after head coach. And they're all going to bring their own ideas to the party. And we can go look through all the different front office execs that have been there as well. There aren't as many. These guys seem to get a longer leash than the head coach will. But you are continuously rebuilding, or calling it a rebuild. I'm not going to call any of those a rebuild. That was just sweeping up the same old crap again and again, which is why I liked what I saw from this regime, for example, is that you are not just sweeping up the same crap. This was a complete fresh start. We got rid of our franchise quarterback that we had been praying and hoping for forever beforehand. Finally got him in Matthew Stafford, and we let him go because this was going to be yet another head coach for the poor bastard as the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. So now you have a fresh start right then and there. Now, people might not want to look at it completely as a fresh start because you got Jared Goff. The guy went to a Super Bowl and he's making all this money. And the Lions didn't sign that contract. The LA Rams signed that contract, or the St. Louis Rams, whichever one you want to call it. They signed that contract. Goff fooled them. Good for Goff. He's getting paid. He's not worth the money. And it's money, it's dead, it's cap that's going to get let go when he gets let go. And we can deal with the Goff lovers and haters later, but he's not the guy for the future. And now we are getting rid of the Quinntricia guys that need to be let go because they weren't the right picks either at the time. But I'm seeing the right things happening in the sense of how we are building this team. You look at the 2 drafts under this new regime, and 6 of the 8 picks in this last draft were on defense. Well, guess what? The Lions have been one of the worst defenses the last 4 years. They were 26th, 32nd, 31st, and right now 32nd. Those are terrible numbers, obviously. And so you can't expect them to all of a sudden be a great defense. A defense takes time to build. An offense you can fix a lot quicker. You get a decent quarterback and a couple of pass-catching weapons, and you've got some semblance of an offense as long as the O-line can do some blocking, which we couldn't for the longest time, but it's looking like we're finally able to. But you look at what this regime has done the last 2 drafts, 4 out of 7 picks in 21, 6 out of 8 picks in 22 have been on defense. They are trying to address the problem. It hasn't worked yet. You are relying on first and second year players to be your leaders. That usually doesn't work out well in the NFL. It's usually the vets that are the guys that are the leaders and are leading the way for the first and second year players. But right now, our defense is so bad, we are relying on those first and second year players to lead the way for us. And guess what? It's not really working right now.
Hey, Ryan Griffin here. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Griffin and Bass. Be sure to give us your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to click the bell to receive the latest notifications from DSN and subscribe for breaking news, community blogs, polls, contests, and other content.